I hate everything. Okay, did the other one, is it still going? Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. No. We have a new router, like a couple of new routers coming in because the ones that we currently have are just like being dumb. Guys, we have a raid coming from Comrade. Can we get W Comrade Raiders in the chat? Appreciate that. W Comrade B. It was just getting good. It's okay. It wasn't getting good. He wasn't going to be able to answer the question. Bees. Guys, if you're new here, coming over from Comrade, be sure to hit that follow button up at the top. If you're new here in general, over on the TikTok side, hit that follow button. I have a couple of things to read out real quick. Thank you again for the jewels over here. Thank you, Red Lantern, for the happy birthday wish. Happy birthday tomorrow. First time here. Thank you. Guillermo. Guillermo. Thank you as well for the $5 for the birthday wish. Says happy birthday. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that. Degan Diver says, we love well-spoken and knowledgeable young fighters. Thank you for following up better than reporters do. I appreciate that. And thank you, Humdrum, for the $1.99. Yeah, B-Raid. Let's go, guys. It is my birthday tomorrow. WB Raiders. We'll just keep saying that for a moment. I need to put up a thing that says thanks, Raiders. Hold on. Did I not have a text for that? Let me see. Settings. We'll make one. See if I can find it. Did that go on? Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Made that way too big. There we go. We got it right there. We'll leave that up there for a moment. We'll open this back up to callers, hopefully. People came back. Thank you for the jewels, guys. I appreciate you. Let's see.
You're awesome.
Could be true, Degan. They could be. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
I am here.
Hey, how old are you?
30.
30? Are you still supporting Donald Trump?
Indeed, I am. Happy early birthday as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So what has you
So-
questioning your support in Donald Trump or the MAGA movement today?
I don't have any question in my support in my party. I'm actually an independent, but I do support Donald Trump for a few various reasons. One is there is a large amount of criminality in the country, and I believe that Donald Trump has done as much diligent work as he can to try to mitigate some of these criminal acts that are occurring.
Cool. So can you tell me 3 lies that Donald Trump has told since he was inaugurated into office?
I'm getting a lot of feedback. No, I can't. Not off the top of my head. Can you enlighten me to those lies?
Donald Trump said that he's ended inflation. Is that true?
I'm not going to say he's ended it, but I definitely feel like he has done just as much as any president before him to try to lower the gas prices.
It's not about lowering one price of goods, sir. Are you aware that gas prices are excluded from the core inflation numbers that are released? So, like, while it's tallied up and they calculate it, it's not included in the overall number that's released to show what the inflation is across the country. Are you aware of that?
Negative.
Okay. So, when I tell you that inflation is at 3%, that is not including the price of gas, nor is it including the cost of groceries. Those are measured separately, and all of those are up. And what he
Okay.
said was, I've ended inflation. And yet we're at a
So-
3% inflation rate for the month of September, which means prices are 3% higher than they were in September of 2024 and 0.3% higher than they were in August of 2025.
By a minuscule amount. I think in 2024 it was 2.7%.
No,
and
it
it's
was
only up to
2.4%.
6% now.
No, incorrect. I see you're still not understanding what I'm saying. In September of 2024, it was at a 2.4% inflation rate, right? Which means it was 2.4% higher than September of 2023. The 3% means that it's 3% higher than it was in September of 2024. So not saying that it's the 0.6% difference that we just look at mathematically. That's not what it actually is calculating. It's saying that it is up year over year 3% compared to last year's number and accounting for seasonal adjustments.
Correct. But you got to consider like the difference between core inflation and consumer price index. There's a huge difference there. So
The
yes, we're paying
CPI
less
is the core
at the grocery
inflation.
stores. However, cost of living
Is up.
slightly higher. Yes.
Yeah, that's up,
But-
and that's included in the
but-
overall. That is like the core inflation is CPI, sir.
Right. But the consumer price index is significantly lower for everyday working Americans than
No,
it would
it's
be
not.
for like
It is not.
a major
That is what
a major
CPI
conglomerate.
measures across the board, sir, is that on average, prices are up 3% compared to this time last year across the entirety of the United States, and that is affecting all American citizens. It is not just what you feel in your state or what a handful of people that you know feel in your state. Like, overall, everything is up. And again, the items that are left out for the core inflation number for the CPI data is groceries and gas prices. Groceries are way up compared to this time last year. Gas prices, I think they finally are no longer up anymore.
Look at the term of his first presidency. It was almost double what it is now. It was like almost 7%.
What was almost double?
The inflation rate in 2021 was like almost 7%, like 6.7%.
No, we didn't reach our highest until 2022. You're really not following, are you? It still doesn't matter.
2021, it was 7%. In 2020, when he took office, it was 1.4%. And we had just came out of recessions from 2008 during the Obama administration, which
who was president in 2008?
In 2008?
Yeah.
That was the end of the Bush administration coming into the Obama administration.
No, for the entirety of 2008, it was Bush. For the entirety of 2008, it was Bush. Donald Trump left office January 20th at 11:59 a.m. 2021.
Obama was inaugurated on January 20th, 2009.
Yes. Right. Correct.
So coming out of Bush into Obama, if you take the inflation rates from Bush and Obama, there's not that much of a significant difference. That's all I'm trying to point out to you. Out of curiosity, what are some reasons that you dislike Donald Trump other than
I'm being for real though. Can you admit that Donald Trump saying I've ended inflation is a lie? Yes or no?
I would say it's speculation.
So you just can't admit that it's a lie.
Some would say yes. Some would say yes. Some would say no. It's hard to say because the numbers are so minuscule. It's hard to be, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to be dead set yes or no because it's such, if you look at the last 10, 20 years, it's such a minuscule amount. It almost doesn't matter. I know personally in my state, from Biden to the first Trump presidency to the Obama presidency, I've noticed price increases and decreases. Yes, in my state, I'm in the state of Texas, but
yay, good for you.
Other states
so it's not a lie. I just want to be clear. It's just not a lie when Donald Trump out and out says, "I've ended inflation. We have defeated inflation." It's not a lie.
I wouldn't say it was a lie. Maybe he just poorly construed what he was trying to say. I'm not defending him one way or the other.
Do you have some cheese to
One,
go with that pretzel? I do like beer cheese to go with pretzels.
okay. Well, let me ask you a question.
Do you have some beer cheese with that pretzel?
No, I don't like beer cheese or pretzels.
Oh, well, sure sounds like you do. You just pretzeled hardcore, man.
No, I'm just simply saying, like, if
No,
you
you
look
literally just like
from
pretzeled to your
2008
whole
through
life.
the Obama administration, through the
Yeah.
first Trump administration, and through Biden presidency,
Yeah.
and now the current Trump
Mhm.
administration,
Awesome.
Yeah.
you're looking at a 3% difference from 20 years. Across 20 years,
That would be
3% difference.
compounded, bro.
Yes, but that would change each term.
No, bro, it would be compounded. I know you don't know what that word means. You already had to pretzel yourself to just say that that's not a lie. Oh my god. Okay.
All right, may I ask my question now?
No.
Okay.
Bye. I can't talk to overall pretzeling to death there. Exactly, Jim. There is literally no such thing as 0% inflation. Why is it so hard just to be like, yeah, that's kind of a lie. He shouldn't have said that. What? Just say that. Just say maybe he shouldn't have said that. That's kind of lying. Right? Like, bro, what? Just fucking admit it. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to do is think critically. Like, I think it takes, honestly, I think it takes more brain power to pretzel yourself this much. I should have bought one that wasn't smiling. But I think it takes more brain power to pretzel yourself than to just sit back and be like, yeah, I think that's a lie. Okay. Thank you, Degan, for the $4.99. Could be. Concern said denial, denial, denial. Yeah, that was the last guest. That was the last guest. It was very bad. Yeah, exactly. He should have said that. It was false. The end. Like, that's all you have to say. It's freaking crazy. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. How old are you?
I'm 56.
56. Are you still supporting Donald Trump?
Kind of in a way, but kind of in a way I'm really on the fence right now, honestly.
Okay. What has you questioning your support in Donald Trump or the MAGA movement today?
Well, if people would just open their eyes, it's not hard to see the economy has completely gone to hell. The cost of living, the cost of groceries, I mean, the insurance, the taxes, I mean, just the job market, I take your pick, you know? I don't know what's worse at this point. People are suffering right now. And one really big thing, and luckily I don't have to worry about this, but we're just a couple days away from millions of Americans going hungry. And
Yep.
and then finding out, that Trump could be tapping into some kind of reserves to feed people who are not going to be getting their SNAP benefits, and he literally chose not to. This is not okay.
No, I agree with you. It's definitely not looking good. I think they're estimating about at least 40 million American citizens will be looking at losing or facing food insecurity, I believe is how it's phrased,
Mm-hmm.
next month. Yeah, so just
Yeah.
well, sorry, I shouldn't even say next month. It's just in 4 days.
Yeah. And then the biggest thing for me is the children.
Yep.
There's a lot of children that are not going to understand, why, they're missing a meal a day or missing a couple meals a day. They're not going to understand this. All they know is they're going to be hungry. And I'm having a hard time with this because I supported Trump. Never in my life have I ever been a political person, but when I always said if Donald Trump ever ran, that I would be on board, and I was. So for the first time in my life, when he came down the escalator, is when I voted for the presidency ever. And now I don't know what's happened. I really do not know what's happened. All I know is that America is on fire. That's how I feel. We are on fire, and nobody's coming to our aid. And I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that every single day I'm seeing things get worse and worse and worse, and people are struggling, and people, I can't afford to live in a traditional home. I live in my camper,
Mm-mm.
and this is a direction that a lot of Americans are going to. They're getting RVs and campers and living in them with their families. I mean, is this really what America is about? Is this what we're supposed to be about?
No, I don't think it is, but it's definitely what we've come to. So I am just curious because it doesn't, I do definitely see how you're questioning it. So
Mhm.
what has you, like, why would you even say that you were still supporting Trump?
Um, I guess I just don't like to give up on people. I'm hoping that in some way that maybe I'm just looking at this wrong. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. You know, I'm trying to keep an open mind, but the bad things that I'm seeing is heavily outweighing that. And and another thing that doesn't look good to me is a couple of times I went online. If you go to Google and you pull up, like how to contact the president, and you go on to the White House website and write a letter or whatever, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't let you do it anymore. You can't do it. So you can't send the president your thoughts and comments and stuff like that. So that's not sitting right with me either. So it's almost like they don't want to know what Americans are saying. They just want to just have their blinders on and go towards whatever it is that they're going towards, which at this point I'm not quite sure what that is. Um, but I don't think that they're focusing on the big picture and what's happening. And Trump is saying, oh, the economy is great. No, the economy is not great. We're on fire. you know. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say, and I do say this to a lot of people. Okay. Um you can support the United States of America. You can support the office of the presidency without supporting the person that sits there. And it definitely sounds like you don't support the person that sits there. And it's still like very American to be critical of the president of the United States and also still just support the United States as a whole because you hope that he doesn't fail, right? Because I have
Right.
that same opinion. I don't want a failing presidency. I don't. I want the United States to be successful. I don't want our country to go to absolute hell in a handbasket, right? Um,
Mhm.
but and that's why I say I don't support him because I see the destruction that he is causing, but I still have some kind of like hope that somehow he can turn it back around. There's no guarantee, but that still doesn't make me personally feel like I have to support him. I think that you are working through the reasons why I would assume you voted for him, and then also like coming to grips with the fact that he's not doing the things that he really said he was going to do, and it is harming the American people. So I do appreciate that you are coming to the realization, and I would agree it doesn't really sound like you are supporting him, but you still support the United States of America as a whole.
Well, can you tell what do you think is a contributing factor to what's happening in America? Like the bad economy, everything going up. I mean, to the point to where people are just really not living. What do you think is a contributing factor?
Honestly, so
I'm sorry, what?
in my opinion, okay. Um,
Uh,
the as it is right now, the American government let things get too out of hand, right? I mean this in all honesty, right? Joe Biden, he had an opportunity to do a lot for the country. He didn't get it done. Okay.
mhm.
There could have been some kind of price controlling done there could have been anything done on his part to, again, try to mitigate what actually occurred. And I don't think that it helped at all in any way, shape, or form for him to say, oh, yeah, the economy is doing great, when nobody was seeing that, because statistically, numerically wise, the economy was doing well, but people couldn't relate because you and I weren't feeling it going well, right?
Hmm.
Lying to the American people, because I would say that there is a point where that is considered a lie by Biden. And
I
then,
call it
right,
gaslighting, but okay.
yeah, gaslighting can work, which is a form of lying. And then Donald Trump outwardly lying, saying that he's ended inflation and everything's doing well and blah, 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 blah. None of these things are helping the American people when we don't feel it at our wallet, right? Like, we
Hmm.
don't, you can tell me until my face is like, until you're red in the face that the economy is doing great. But if we don't feel it, then we're not going to relate to that number. Somehow, though, there's a lot of Trump voters that are. I don't know. I don't know how. There is, like, we are facing a system where we're unfortunately seeing a lot of hate come back to the forefront in America, and that's not a good thing. And I think that that's the driving
Right.
force when we've made an enemy out of a small percentage of the population, right? I'm not going to name exactly which ones it is. There's multiple communities that this president in one side of the aisle has made it, like, has made them the enemy somehow. And so I think that's another driving force. There are people that are so focused on hating a group of individuals that they're just buying into everything that is being said. But as far as, like, let's say the economy, for example, this isn't just a United States issue. This is a worldwide issue. We see the cost of housing going up across the world, including in countries that have control, like rent controls and shit, like Australia, and
Hmm.
other European, like, sorry, and European countries. Australia is not European, so I started saying that wrong. But yeah, like, this isn't just an us problem, it is a worldwide issue because we're still recoiling from a worldwide pandemic that no one was prepared enough for.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's just
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
recovering.
I think that, if you think about it, it all did start with the pandemic, and it's just been sliding downhill ever since. Um, and yeah, we haven't recovered from it. Yeah, and as far as the hate goes, um, I agree. There is an epidemic of hate in this country. I don't know if I would categorize it though more towards like one specific kind of people. I just kind of see it. Everybody. I mean, there's just a lot of people these days are just angry like all the time. I work in a position where I see people face to face every day, and it's people are just angry, and a lot of times it just seems like that's just who they are. They literally walk around angry, and I think that the C word, I think it broke people, and like I don't know if they need mental help or what it is, but I think that this has just been just kind of going downhill, but I mean probably going left, and probably shouldn't do that, but I don't know. I mean this thing with Trump and everything in the economy and the way everything is, I see video after video and people just don't think it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I see it every single day, like yesterday, so I work in a truck stop. I'm a cashier at a truck stop, and we have a deli and of hot food. And a person came in yesterday to get a plate of hot food, and you can just tell he was just kind of down. And he slides his card, and it declined. And he does it again, and it declined. And the man, I felt so bad for me. He literally sighed as he turned around and walked away. I said, "Excuse me," and I just slid the bag across the counter to him. I said, "Just take it," because we would have had to throw it away. But this is what we've come to in America. People can't eat,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's going on. It's so disheartening. It breaks my heart, and I'm afraid for what's coming in a few days. I really am.
No, I don't disagree with you. And like I said, I think I honestly think you're already at the point where you really don't support Donald Trump. Um, and and I think, like I said, that's perfectly okay. You don't have to. I personally don't support anything but the office of the presidency in the United States of America, and that's because Donald Trump hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to earn any kind of continued support for anybody, at least in my opinion. Um, but yeah, no, I hope things get better, but that honestly isn't going to happen until we get, and everybody's gonna hate this because everybody thinks it's a dirty word, until we have more socialist policies enacted in our country.
Do
Because
you really
socialist,
think socialism is the answer?
no, just socialist policies.
What if okay, so what do you mean? What would be the difference?
So we're never going to have a socialized government governing system, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Because people are so
Mhm.
afraid of the word socialism, they don't understand it, right? But the idea of socialism is it's the means of production are owned by the people, right? Or the government. And we're already seeing some of those socialized policies being enacted by the Trump administration. But I think the most important socialized policies that we can see enacted in the United States are going to be price controls, the things that Zoran Mamdani has been like preaching about on his
Mhm.
campaign trail for mayor of New York. So that's why I said
Mhm.
like we're never going to get true socialism. Democratic socialists are probably the way to go, because those are the only way that we're going to see the kind of policies enacted that could actually help people. Universal health care, for example. If we have universal health care enacted, then we wouldn't be seeing medical bills being the number one reason why people file for bankruptcy in the United States of America now, right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's part of the issue. People are like, it'll cost more, but no, it really wouldn't. If people think about it for a moment, you already pay Medicaid and Medicare out of your FICA taxes that come out every single paycheck. You pay for health
Mhm.
insurance premiums before you can even use health insurance, right? That comes out of your paycheck automatically. Then you're paying
Mhm.
co-pays when you get to the office, and then you have to meet an annual deductible before your insurance covers all of it, right? If we had
Mhm.
universal health care, all of those things turn into one tax, and it would still cost less because we're not paying that out of pocket deductible. If someone's out of pocket deductible, I think the lowest now is like 750 or 1500. If it's 750, more than likely, like all that's being added into what they would normally pay is maybe $300. Every statistical model that has been done, or budget model that has been done for the United States, has shown that if we convert it to universal healthcare, like true universal healthcare, it would be cheaper for everyone. We would actually save money. And that's why, like, someone's asking me about the Affordable Care Act. It was flawed to start with. Great concept, but it was flawed.
Mhm.
And they wanted originally to be universal health care. It just was
Mhm.
flawed enough. They couldn't get enough people to agree with it. But the thing is, like, people are like, well, what about the jobs? We already have insurance employees that work at insurance companies, and all we have to do is convert them to government employees for universal Medicaid, Medicare. Right? That doesn't
Mhm.
have to be the name, but just like to roll it into Medicaid, Medicare. That's all it would have to be, right? But that would save it overall. But we already have, like, just to go back to socialist policies, we already have socialist policies in place. Our police force, our firefighters, the roads that you drive on, the road signs that you see. Those are all socialized policies because that's all the means and productions that are controlled or owned by the governments, like your local municipalities. Like, most people don't realize that in order for for any road like being repaired, that all has to be like voted on, that all has to be decided, who's getting the contract and everything else. And this is all usually in most states, it's publicly available information, and the public could go to those committee meetings and be like, hey, we don't need this, or be like, hey, we need this, right? Like, these are already socialist programs because we own the rights to the means and productions of our bridges. Our taxes fund the police department. They fund some, not all fire departments, but all of that. our socialist programs. And to be honest, we haven't had any true leftist Democrats even campaign for office in a long time. But I would also just say, like, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do, even if you're worried about voting again, since you said that the only time you've ever voted was for Trump, if you decide to vote in your midterms, which is the most important thing you can do, even if you don't vote for the federal branch, you need to vote for your local elections because those have the most effect on you. Vote blue. I don't know what else to tell you on that one, or just at least really heavily evaluate their policies and see if there's anything that you truly can agree with that are going to advance ideas of bringing down prices, because that would be like the major thing here, that we're not, like, unless we have some kind of law that says we can manage prices at a government level, we're never going to get these prices to go back down, or at least go up at a steady pace.
Well, so I live in Florida, and I
Nice.
know that our governor is he's on his last term. Of course, he's got to go.
Yep.
And I know that he's trying to pass something to where if you own your home in Florida, that you don't have to pay any more taxes. So you're truly a homeowner. And I don't know if he's going to get this done, but I mean, I hope that he does, because I know that a lot of people here are struggling, with the cost of living and the taxes going up and stuff, especially if you're living like in South Florida, like in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, places like that. I mean, it is so hard, so hard. So, and I know, he's Republican, but, the point that I'm making is that could help. It really could help.
It
But
could, but
something is going to
I'm not
have to
sure
be
he's
done.
really too serious about it, and I'll say it because I get news alerts. He's already, like, the Republicans in Congress have submitted 17 different proposals to him to be like, hey, are
Hmm.
you good with this if we put it on the floor? And of course,
Hmm.
he's basically at war with all the Republicans in the state Congress in Florida, and he shot each and every single one of them down because they're, quote, not doing enough. Um, but he doesn't explain more, and he doesn't, all the Republicans have come out and said, he's not giving us instructions on what exactly he wants to see. So they're trying to write this legislation completely blind, minus his blanket statement of end property taxes, right? Which is an okay concept. The reason why I have an issue with that is Florida already has no state income tax. The property taxes are used to fund and pay for public schools. What's going to happen to the public schools in Florida if if those property taxes are gone? Something's gonna have
Well,
to give.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But I
I don't
mean,
agree. I don't disagree. The idea of it is awesome, but the execution of it and what comes after it has me worried.
but it's not for every person in Florida who owns a home. It's just for the people who own their home, like this, like the home is paid off.
Right, yeah,
So
they have no
if you still got a
mortgage.
mortgage payment, then you still got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where he was going with that. So I still would think that that there would be enough to help with what you just said, with the public schools and things like that. Because I mean, a lot of people are moving here from out of state, and it's like they're kind of having trouble keeping up. Although with the cost of living and everything, I'm not sure how people are doing it, but people are still moving here. So
Oh, it's because
I,
they're
I
coming
don't.
from states that have high cost of living, and so they come here and they're like, "Oh, this is cheap." I know this because
Yeah.
I have moved multiple times. I've lived in 5 different states. So, like, I
Hmm.
know exactly how that feels. Like, I took a pay cut on my most recent move, because according to the cost of living index, even I'm getting paid based off of cost of living adjustments, what I got paid there, just even though it's a lower dollar amount. It goes further where
Hmm.
I'm at, where I moved to. So, I get it, but that's how it happens. Well, ma'am, I do appreciate you. And like I said, it sounds like you really don't support him anymore, and like you just Just support the office of the presidency. Hope he does well. And what I would encourage you to do is, speak out about what he's doing wrong, even if it's just to friends or family, but and vote in the midterms, vote in your local elections at the very, very least. So vote for governor in your state. Okay. The next governor.
Yeah, I try to do that. I try to speak out about it, but I mean, as you probably know with your show and everything, it's like, most Trump supporters are really, really diehard Trump supporters, and
Yep.
it's like he could set the entire country on
awesome.
fire, and they're still like, yeah, But me, I mean, it's like I'm like, well, I've always, just kind of looked at everybody like, what do you got going on? What do you got going on? And just kind of think about, who's going to be the best person. Although I haven't voted before Trump, but that's just kind of how I looked at things. So it's like, I'm not the kind of person that is like, yeah, Trump forever, no matter what. I'm not like that with anything in my life. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you about it. It doesn't matter if I know you, don't know you, if you're my child, whoever you are. If I think you're wrong, you're wrong. So, but that's just how I feel. But yeah, it's not everybody feels like that. So yeah, I'm having a hard time finding people that are receptive to me going, hey, wait a minute. This is not looking right. This is not okay. It's not okay for millions of children that's going to be hungry next week. This is not cool.
And then what I would just say is just stand your ground. Like, just be like, I have a humanist stance. I don't believe that any children, especially American citizens, should go hungry. And that's all you can
Right.
be like. And you know what? That's a hard line for me. And then that's all you have to say is like, that's just what I feel. And you just go with that. You don't have to,
Yeah.
not all conversations have to turn into a disagreement or an argument. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do hope you have a great rest of your Monday. It was a nice conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you too, and
Of
happy
course.
early birthday.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, let me go through some of these. Yes, Degan, they act like Trump has a blackmail file on them. That's very true. Thank you for the jewels, Indominus. Thank you again for the jewels. Eddie says in Australia, we have a public benefit scheme. While it takes a bit of effort to qualify for, it took me about 2 years. I now get a medication that is top therapy. It costs $6,000 per shot, $36,000 a year. I pay $40 per shot, $240 a year. Dude, that's what needs to happen, especially for insulin, because the insulin's way too expensive. There's a lot of shots that people take for freaking migraines, that are super freaking expensive. Holy baloney. Woof. Lando. Okay, so what do I think about Dean and Parker? They are very smart boys. They have controversies that surround them, and I understand that. They're smart kids. I mean, I don't really know what else to say except they're smart. I think that the difference between me and them is that they are here for the debate and they are here for their debate tactic and style, and they're there to win specifically. I'm here to have a conversation. So they are great at what they do on focusing on winning debates. I am here to try to have conversations. But again, like I said, they're great at what they do, focusing to win the debate. And Cece, you can say that, but I am older than them and they do sometimes act like children. So I hope that answers your question, Lando. I'm just not focused on a debate tactic. That's all. I like conversations. Yeah, listen, I will listen in on them. I will tune into them and I'll like listen and be like, okay, something I didn't know. I learn new stuff from them and I look it up. Oh, thanks. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi, how old are you?
Yes, I'm 20 years old. My name is Moses, and I'm from Florida.
Okay, Moses. And are you still supporting Donald Trump?
Of course I am.
Okay, what has you questioning your support in Donald Trump or the MAGA movement today?
first off, what's your name and what's your party affiliation?
I'm not politically affiliated with either party. I'm literally registered as a non-affiliated voter.
Okay, so you support no sides of it.
Yeah,
Where are you leaning towards?
I don't.
Okay, so so where is your foundation? Where do you get your morals? What party do you more align with?
My morality is determined by my own self-determination.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What is a woman?
A woman is anybody that their personal schema identifies themselves as what society knows as a woman.
And this is why you're a Democrat.
No, I'm not. I'm
You
just a
have
humanist. If
okay,
you want to
so
put a label
you
on me,
have
sir,
you
if you want to put a
you
label on
have
me, sir,
you
you can
have
call me a
you have
humanist.
no IQ.
Because what
First
I
of all, you
do,
have no
what I
IQ.
believe in is the fact that everybody gets to be an individual as they so choose because it's not personally affecting me, nor is it affecting mine, nor is it affecting the majority of society. Individuals such as yourself that get so hung up on what is a woman, what is a man. I'm going to give you an answer here that maybe I hope you can understand. Somebody was literally
You
asked
don't speak
before
the truth.
to
You
what is a
don't speak the
woman,
truth.
and the person responded to, well, what is a man? And their response was, I'm a man, and that was the end of that. So here's the answer. What is a woman? I am a woman. I hope that helps. Does that help answer your question? This was an accepted answer by somebody else, so
I,
I'm a
I I
woman.
mean, you can't answer what a woman is.
I
I
already
mean,
did. You
you
just
think
disagreed with what my answer is.
okay,
So, because
no,
here's
you
what you are
okay,
doing. You
so
are
but
confusing two
okay,
different
so
things. You are
throughout
conflating gender with
okay,
sex.
can I
Okay, so gender is not the same as sex. How do I know? Because if I ask my dog what they are, is my dog going to know whether they are male, female, boy, or girl? No, right? Because we don't identify anything else other than humans as men or women, girls or boys, right? That is strictly a humanity term. So, but male and female is the same across the board, across all animal life in existence. It's the same across the board. They even have intersex out there, right? Which we know is also a human thing as well. Okay.
are you
Gender is
done?
quite literally
Are
a
you done?
social construct that you are incapable of grasping, and you've proven this point already. Okay. So it
All
is
right.
those
You
individuals
just
that
spent two
identify with
minutes
their
saying a whole
personal
lot of nothing.
schema as
You spent
what
2 minutes
considers them a woman
saying a whole
by
lot of nothing.
society, right? Because
You
again,
perceive
you are conflating
that
two
poor
different
young
things.
woman.
You are conflating two different things. Sex is not the same as gender. That is just the way it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't see different pairings or individuals being born with both sets of genitalia where people don't know which one it is. And then the parents have to make a decision what they want their child to be, which I think is
Oh,
irrehensible
so
anyways if they do it prior to the age
you
of
are
puberty
okay
for
with sex
children.
changes. You
But
so
I
you
I
are
just
okay with
don't
sex
get the point
changes.
of what the whole gish gallop is of like, I'm gonna prove a point and show that you must be a crazy radical leftist because
I mean, you
you
have no
say
IQ.
that, oh my
You just proved
god,
to
a
me you have
woman
no
is
IQ. You
not
have
what
no
I believe
IQ.
a woman
You
to
don't know
be.
what a
Oh
woman
my
is.
god, I'm so
So
upsetty spaghetti.
why
You
would I
can't
listen to
agree with
anything you
me.
say
It's
if you
so
can't define
sad.
a
It's so
woman? You
sad that
don't
you are
look
so
for the truth.
obsessed with
You're looking for
1% of the
your
United
subject.
States population, which is still 3 million people, but you are so obsessed with 1% of the United States population that this is breaking your brain.
No,
So
it's
I'm
not
also
breaking
going to
my.
give you another hint,
It's
like
just
to be
seeing
very, very,
your foundation.
very clear. Nothing in the Bible
Your
says that it's
foundation is
wrong
not
to be a
projected on
transgendered
me. Your
individual. Nothing
foundation
in the
is
Bible
what
says
you
that that's
believe.
wrong. It's just your literal own personal morality that you decided to get hung up on.
It's
Your
not
own personal
morality. It's what
morality. It's
God
literally not.
created you.
It's literally not. Tell me
Defined
where
it
in the
as.
Bible, tell me where in the Bible it says it's wrong to be a transgender individual. Where? What verse?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
No, actually, I see. This is how I know you haven't read your Bible. I'm going to help you out with this one. Sodom and Gomorrah was actually about the lack of consent when it comes to
You can't
sexual
teach me
acts.
my
If
own
you've
Bible
actually
now.
read the
Come
Bible
on.
or you've actually read Sodom and Gomorrah, you would understand that the people that they were going after, right, the individuals that were reporting the fact that these things that were happening
Okay, let's
within the
move
city
on.
of Sodom,
You can't define what a
that
woman
city,
is. Let's
were
move on.
happening to
Let's move on. You can't
outsiders.
define what a woman is.
outsiders. It was the outsiders that were leaving the place
The
after
people
they
were
were
seeing the ID
victimized
now. You have
and
to find
raped
what it
by
was.
the inhabitant men
You can't
in
debate
their
that
town that left
I
because it
think the
wasn't
cards
affected by
out there.
insiders. Insiders never had any knowledge of it. And we know that they specifically wanted to rape individuals that came in there from the outside because what was it? What was his name? Lot, when he offered them to have direct relations to rape his daughters who were virgins, they declined and they still wanted to go after the angels. It was because of a lack of consent, because it was for rape. It was taking away consent is the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah, that town, was destroyed by God and his angels. I really hope that helps.
How do you take the Bible out of context like that?
I'm not taking it out of context. It's actually individuals such as yourself that don't understand what the original words, the Hebrew or the Aramaic writing actually means. And so you have twisted it to fit your ideology of what it means, because even the King James Version isn't even a correct direct translation of the Bible. So if you actually go back further and you look at other prior ones, you would learn these things. If you actually listen to anybody that talks about the original translations from Hebrew and Aramaic, you would understand that that's not what that was about. It was literally about the lack of consent. Homosexual was not a word that was known at the time of when the Bible occurred. That was not a word that was known. That was something that has only come up in the last 100 years that we added into it because we as humans determined that it was wrong. But if you look at the actual original language, because scholars do know how to translate the original language, they would explain it to you the exact same way that I am explaining it to you now, that it was due to a lack of consent of acts being done on people that were visiting there. Not the insiders. It was the insiders attacking the outsiders and saying they're fucking them, right? Like they were doing it from a lack of consent. They were violating the idea of consent in doing that.
Okay.
Perfect ending. Okay. You're right. I was super. You guys don't read your fucking Bible. You don't research the shit. Vicariously, don't pray for me. This is funny. Y'all MAGA are so offended that I'm gay. You're so bothered. Get over it. Dagan, thank you for the $4.99. Says, you might be my hero. I appreciate that. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. How old are you?
41.
Okay. Are you still supporting Donald Trump?
Well, this is the thing. I was kind of for Trump. You know, he was saying a lot of good stuff. You know, lower prices on stuff. You know, bring in manufacturing back. But then, you know, after that first 100 days, started looking a little dark. You know, with these tariffs, I don't really understand how he got into tariffs.
He literally promised that on the campaign trail.
Well, yeah, you know, I figured he would have like a little, you know, when you start talking about the tariffs, you kind of think like he's going to have a committee and like see if, you know, these ideas are really going to work. But he came out with like a poster board of like wild numbers that didn't make mathematical sense. But then that's when I started getting worried. You know. And then,
well,
you know,
you're not really sure. You kind of said that you don't really support him, so I am going to move on because you're not my target audience, and I hope you have a good night. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
Yeah, MAGA biatch.
Okay. How old are? Oh, okay. I was going to ask. Also, I almost forgot. Nancy, thank you so much for the 20 over on the Blue app. Nancy said, happy early birthday to one of the smartest girl on these TikTok streets. I appreciate that one. Thank you, Nancy. I hope you're still in here. I'm so sorry if I missed it and you had already left. I don't know if we're going to end up getting another caller because those conversations always drive the live into oblivion because nobody actually likes to hear those conversations. I don't really blame them. I don't enjoy having them. I don't enjoy the fact that individuals think it's okay to attack 1% of the population. It's fucking weird. Just let people be people. Thank you for calling the Matthew support, the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 15. I'd like to make some points.
You're 15, I can't talk to you. Thank you for calling the MAGA support hotline. Are you there?
I am there. Hello.
Awesome. How old are you?
I am 32.
32. Are you still supporting Trump?
For the most part, I would say.
Okay. And what has you questioning your support in Donald Trump or the MAGA movement today?
Questioning it, I mean, I think the big thing that I think really everybody should be talking about is the lack of clarity around the Epstein files. That was one of the biggest things that I was excited about, was to finally get some answers there. But, the administration's been quiet about it, and that's not cool. And I don't think anybody should give anyone a pass for that sort of thing.
Okay. And can you identify 3 lies that Donald Trump has told since he was inaugurated into office?
Probably not. I'm actually cooking dinner right now, so I'm multitasking. But I saw your stream, and I'm trying to watch here. I listened to you say that you're really interested in conversations, and then I heard you seemed like you were shouting down the guy that was.
Because he
on this
wasn't
whole-
interested in a conversation, sir, because he
I'm-
laughed
I'm-
off my answer just because he didn't like it. And then went into personal
definitely was
insults by calling me delusional. So he's the one that derailed it just because he didn't like my answer.
I'll tell you what. No, I definitely agree with that. I feel like people should talk to each other more, and they should fight less. So
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't agree with a lot of your politics. I don't think you'd agree with mine, but I do like the idea that you're interested in reaching out to the other side of this whole thing and actually having a conversation, like as a human being, and not demonizing each other. I genuinely believe that more than likely a lot of your beliefs come from a place of compassion and, trying to do what's right for everyone involved. So that's my take on that. And I just wanted to say I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, thanks, man.
Yep. If you did want to have a conversation, though, I mean, do you feel like you could tell me something that you feel like Donald Trump has been totally dishonest about that, maybe I could give some perspective on why I still feel like I should support it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that he's probably been the most dishonest about is blaming the entirety of the shutdown on the Democratic Party. Because even he didn't have those views back in 2011, 2013. He was actually explicitly asked by Fox News host, MSNBC, whose fault do you think a government shutdown would be if it were to shut down? He's like, well, you can't blame the minority party because they have no power in Congress. They're the minority. You also shouldn't blame the majority party because there's only so much work that they can do, and it should fall squarely on the head or the responsibility of the President of the United States, because it's his job to get people together. Where he's being asked by reporters on a nearly daily basis about if he would ever consider or will consider meeting with the Democrats in Congress in order to end this government shutdown, and he just says there's no need. So listen, I'm not saying that the Democrats had zero responsibility in shutting down the government, because it absolutely, in order for the CR to pass on its base level, it would require the 60 vote filibuster. But They don't have power. The only thing they can do is to not vote for the continuing resolution. And
Yeah,
because it was only worked up by one party, literally a total partisan bill, right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
they're not,
Um,
the Republicans are
I
refusing
had a
to talk to
question.
them. What's up? Sorry.
I had a question. Did you thank you. Do you feel like Trump and the Republicans are more than likely utilizing the government shutdown as a tool for themselves in order to help, further their own ends?
Oh,
For example,
100%.
shrinking
Donald Trump,
the government, that sort of thing.
yeah, Donald Trump admitted as much on his True Social post, literally right before the government shut down. He said, "I guess the Democrats want the government to shut down, and that's cool. I'll reach out with OMB Director Russ Vaught of Project 2025 fame, and we're just gonna start firing people." And now he's looking at ways to make sure that furloughed employees aren't able to get paid back pay, or people that have been working don't get paid back paid even though they've been going into their job and working. And it's always been a fact that when the government were to shut down, people get back
You're
pay. But
awesome.
he's looking at ways to avoid it. So, yes, I would say it's 100% a part of it.
Definitely seems like the mindset of a business owner. You know what I mean? Those things cut costs as you can.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I mean, you know, things are completely divided. Things are completely partisan, and you're probably not going to see a lot of conceding from either side. People, going, hey, um, you know, hey, maybe we were wrong about this. I shouldn't have blamed the Democrats for this sort of thing, or Republicans doing vice versa. Um, do you think that it's like, is it like wrong or immoral or improper for the duly elected president to use their powers that be in order to further their own agenda?
No.
I personally, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, but personally, from my perspective, what it seems like is there was a mandate in place because there was the popular vote, there was the House, Senate, and people wanted this guy in office, and then after he got in office, he started doing some of the things that people wanted, not all of it, and I won't sit here and try to defend his entire speech record of everything that he's promised. Every single president promises things and doesn't fulfill on that. But I mean, like, people wanted this guy in office. They wanted him to do these things with immigration, and they're okay with him using this government shutdown to further their agenda. Would you see any moral issues with that sort of thing if it was on the other side, for example?
So, first of all, I just want to point something out. While he won the popular vote by number only, which means he won the plurality, he did not win the majority of the vote because more people actually voted against Donald Trump than voted for him. He only got 49.8% of the vote, which means 50.2% of everyone that got out and voted against Donald Trump. So I would inherently
Sure.
disagree with it being considered a mandate. Um,
Sure.
as far as pushing their own agenda, no, because the representatives that are elected into Congress are there to work for their people. They're not supposed to push some kind of loyalty agenda by the president of the United States. And I would say that on both sides, right? Like, we have elected these officials across the board. They work for the people of the United States, not for themselves. So any phrasing of pushing their own agenda to me is inherently wrong because it's individuals that put them into place and they're ignoring the cries of the people. Also, according to exit polls, the number one reason why people voted for Donald Trump was for the economy, and he's failing on the economy in current polls numbers now. Like, immigration was not their hot button issue.
I'd say that's probably a close second, but let me say this. Genuinely, I feel like In a perfect world, what you're describing is completely accurate. There should not be partisan hackery going on in any sort of political alignment. But I mean, and I do say this with all due respect, genuinely, do you think that that's realistic in 2025, that there's not going to be, there's not going to be either side using the government to the fullest of their ability to try to affect the other side? Because it feels like, and I would think that a lot of MAGA supporters would agree, what it would feel like is that there seems to be an agenda with the powers that be to silence and shut down. And, I'm not saying that you do this. I genuinely, you're having me on your show. You're letting me speak my opinions freely, which thank you. But, silence, to shut down, to force out, to keep these ideas from actually catching ground or, getting out into the public. We saw that during 2020 with COVID. We saw that with them suppressing the counter-COVID narratives over and over again. One of my close friends is a nurse who worked in the COVID wing at his hospital. He was seeing it in front of his face every single day, and he had his own opinions, and he was silenced also. He's not like some influencer. He's just a guy. But, his posts were all taken down off the internet as well. And I feel like that's probably, I would say, one of the probably bigger than, the economy or immigration. I think that people were 100% voting against an administration that, from their perspective, didn't want them to speak and didn't want to hear what they had to say. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Hello?
Sorry, to be honest, I was a little bit confused on everything that you said because it was a lot of points that you were making in one go. I don't truly believe that this is a real two sides issue. And I think that's a problem for everyone to be like, it's the same on both sides. It's not.
Here,
Especially,
do you mind if I try to clarify so that I can? I'm sorry if
sure.
I said too much. The point that I think I'm genuinely making is that we definitely did see. Would you agree that there was censorship coming out of like the Biden administration during his tenure?
No. Because I'm sorry, like
Um,
it's literally against the First Amendment for the government to write a law that would censor a private company or a private individual. They can make
well, I know they
suggestions
definitely,
and that's fine, but even if you want it like, and that's all they were doing, they were censoring, like they were asking places like Meta, places like TikTok to uphold their own existing terms of service by not allowing misinformation to spread, right? And that's
and what
all
we
they
what
were
we saw
asking to
from
do.
yeah, what we saw from like Mark Zuckerberg when he comes out on Rogan, everybody's favorite, when he comes out on Rogan and he basically just outright says yes, we were coerced by the federal government to censor these ideas.
Which he's offered
Um,
no proof of. And it wasn't censoring
sure,
ideas. Again, it
sure,
was only
and
the
that's
government
fine.
asking them to uphold their own existing terms of service of not
And
allowing
I'm never going to,
misinformation.
I'm like a conservative type person, or not really, or I'd say I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but I'm never going to suggest that private companies aren't allowed to enforce their own rules if they don't want to. It's the free market. If they don't want to fall in line with whatever political narrative is going on, then they can protest that. They can have their own terms of service and whatever works for them for their business. I'm fine with that. That being said, it wasn't the only instance of this sort of thing. We definitely saw massive reporting come out with the Twitter files with pretty much the exact same story.
Oh yeah,
The
of
U.S.
people
government is
violating their terms of
pressuring.
service. Like, show
It's
me a
not, well,
court
you
case.
say
Where
that.
was this taken to
You
court?
say, you say that, but it's less about people throwing the law at these people and more about people's voices getting shut down.
Well,
And I mean, do you think that,
did
for
did
example,
Mark Zuckerberg have the ability to say no?
you were definitely right about that. But you know, when you go to the college university and you get shouted out of it because you're wearing a MAGA hat, and when you go to, you know, then you try to go onto an internet space and the owners of that space are creating a terms of service that specifically targets your ideology. You can't come out here and say anything that's pro-life. You can't come out here and say anything that counters the LGBTQ
How was that
narratives.
the
You
government
can't
doing
come
that?
out. Well, specifically when we were talking about the government, I was talking about how they were pressuring tech companies in order to, you know, force these people out. And then we saw that turn around. Elon
No,
Musk buys
they
Twitter.
weren't.
All of
They
this
they
stuff
literally
comes
weren't.
out,
There's
and now,
I gotta stop because there's no
sure.
proof of it aside from Mark Zuckerberg saying I was coerced, and yet literally it doesn't count. Like, cool, you can say you felt pressure from the United States government to uphold your own terms of service of misinformation that was literally killing people. Like, there was people posting on
What's
fucking
misinformation?
Facebook of that was like literally they heard Donald Trump suggest, he didn't actually say it, right? But he made a slight suggestion in the form of a question to a health individual, like a health professional behind him, asking like,
Mm-hmm.
would injecting bleach work? And then people blew that up on Facebook, and we saw reports of people going to the ER in hospital rooms because they either drank bleach or they tried to inject themselves with bleach. So because of
Yeah,
that, they were like,
or like
hey, you have this
fish
terms of
tank cleaner or
service
something. I heard,
against
right?
misinformation. Maybe you should start
Well, here,
upholding it, right? And
no,
they weren't doing that. So the government got
I think
involved
I've
because
actually.
people were dying. But again, Mark Zuckerberg could have said no at any times. At any time, he could have said, no, we're not
Mhm,
going to, we're not listening to you, government of the
mhm,
United States of America. And then if they had done something about it afterwards, he would have had a case against the government because otherwise it's just him saying he
mhm.
felt pressured because boo hoo. He also got called out for doing his massive layoffs after doing mass
Well,
hirings
let
because
me
that's what Meta's
if I
been
could,
doing. Like, dude,
if I
no,
could,
like, I'm
I actually
sorry.
have a. You're fine. And hey, look, you're impassioned about this stuff. I do
No, it's
appreciate the
just a dumb
conversation, genuinely.
argument.
You've been very respectful.
It's just a
Um,
dumb argument because literally we
well,
have like if you want to make this a two sides issue, fine. JD Vance is literally asking for people on the internet to dox individuals that have said any bad thing about Charlie
mhm,
Kirk after his death, and doxing is literally a federal cyber crime. Donald Trump
uh-huh.
is talking about stripping away the Second Amendment rights of individuals, of 1% of the community, individuals that identify themselves as
Oh,
transgender. Donald Trump
cool.
is complaining
Are you for the Second
about
Amendment?
media companies talking about negatively about him and promising they're going to hear about it and that he's going to continue to sue them. Oh, I have something else to sue ABC about. He brags about it on open television. And he talks about how all these places say mean things about him and then say, well, I'm going to sue you next because you said something mean. And I also think that ABC, Paramount,
Well, I think there's
all
a
of those
difference
places are
between
absolute
saying.
pieces of shit for settling with
I
Donald
think that
Trump.
there's. I genuinely think there's a difference between saying something mean and something that's liable. That being said, I will say I've been trying to be as respectful as humanly possible this entire time, and I would never refer to any of. I disagree with you a lot, but I would never refer to your arguments as dumb arguments. I don't think you've made any dumb arguments. I think that you personally, I think that you're misinformed. That being said, I don't. I don't see if we're going to have a conversation, like I don't see the utility in like an ad hom attack or like, oh, that's a dumb argument or something. I appreciate that you're impassioned about all this stuff. Let's actually have a genuine discussion. I'd love for us to meet somewhere in the middle here. It'd be super cool if your audience saw us find some common ground. I heard that you said, you know, JD Vance is or excuse me, that the administration wants to take away Second Amendment rights from trans people, and that's something I think you and I can both agree on is not good, and that should not be happening for sure. Nobody should be losing their Second Amendment rights in this country if they haven't committed a felony or something. That's the law already. You know what I mean? To insinuate that someone doesn't deserve the Second Amendment would be to consider them less than a person, less than a citizen. Because you know, I'm not a big religious person, but you know, it's like these rights are given to us by a higher power, not by government. They don't just decide, hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. When it comes to, you know, the Bill of Rights. So one of
Oh, you
the
know, I did forget about
things,
something. Donald Trump literally bragged about taking away free speech in his Antifa
oh, I don't
roundtable discussion. He literally said, "We
genuinely.
took away free speech." Dude is
Here's something that
literally the most person against the free, like, I'm sorry, a higher power.
here's something though. I don't think anybody. I genuinely don't think anyone actually believes in free speech. I don't think you do, and I don't think I do, and I don't think really anyone in this country does. I genuinely feel like most people, once given the power to have sway over the narrative, will use that power inconsequentially every single time. And you know, on top of that, there are already laws that regulate what you can and can't say and where you can and can't say it. So like no one, there is no genuine free speech. That's not something that you would see probably anywhere. That's a bit more of I say that's less of a conservative argument. They always want to shout about free speech, this and that, but it's like when people make the free speech argument to me, it's like, well, you don't really believe it, yet neither do you. Because if somebody threatened your life, you would call the police, as you should, and they should go to jail for it, because you're not allowed to do that. You know, that's against the law. And so those arguments don't really, you know, no president believes in free speech. If they could jail their political opponents for just things that they say, they would do that. But, you know, that's enshrined in law that you can't.
Sure. I disagree with like 99% of what you said. I'm gonna, sorry, I am gonna let you go because I'm 11 minutes past my normal stream time. But,
Hey, what was your name one more time?
it's Ari. It's literally my name.
Ari,
You're
hi.
awesome.
Adam, I genuinely appreciate it. Once again, you've been incredibly respectful, and thank you for taking the time to hear me out. This was a good conversation, and I respect that you're doing this. It's hard to go out and put your opinions out there. It's a good thing.
Okay, well, have a good night, man.
You too. See ya.
Thanks, bye. Well, we're about there, Parkers. Let me read through some of these. Thank you guys again for being here. Thank you, ES Caliber, for the jewels. I appreciate that. Nicole says, thank you for schooling those whose masculinity was so fragile that they feel they need to hate on the trans community, and happy birthday tomorrow. Thank you, Nicole. I agree. Thank you, Karma, for the you're amazing, bear. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know. It was very annoying. Indominus, thank you again for some more jewels. Ash Aslan says, speaking of felonies, Trump should be serious. How many felonies does he have again? 34. Aslan says, I believe in free speech or else I wouldn't be able to stream. That's true. Okay. And Dagan, thank you again. Don't forget DJT. Take guns first, then due process. TikTok, guys, I'm gonna mute for a moment, so don't freak out. If there's any possible way, we still have 9 people that haven't hit that follow button. We'd hit 100 new followers over on TikTok, so I'd appreciate you guys. I'll be right back though. Over on YouTube, over on Twitch, I am going to go ahead and end. I am so sorry, guys. And thank you, Valerian, for the jewels, for the interruption in the middle of the stream. It literally killed the rest of the live. Also, I think that had something to do with the first caller back killed the live, and that's okay. I will see you guys back on live tomorrow for my birthday. Thank you guys for all of the love today. I hope to see you guys back tomorrow. And guys, what I would really love to see though is because we didn't get a singular new member at all on YouTube today. I would love to see us get, I don't know, is 20 new members too much to ask for? Maybe I should ask for 28 new members. I don't know. I'll see you guys back on live tomorrow.